Hey folks, welcome back to Wild West Barbecue. Over the course of the next week, we are going to be curing and smoking our own bacon. So stay tuned. All right, so I'm going to just quickly go over the process for making bacon. We start with a roughly 5-pound-ish piece of pork belly. I tend to get my pork belly at Costco, and they sell it in 9 to 11 pound packages. One pork belly weighs 9 to 11 pounds. And I'll typically just take that and cut it in half, just eyeball it. I don't get real precise. And so I have roughly 5 pounds left when I've cut it in half. And so I just go with that. And so I've got a maple cure I'm gonna use for this that I really like for bacon. And so for the cure, and I'll get into measurements here in just a minute, and I'll put the cure in the description so you guys go make that. So we're gonna go ahead and use, for the first ingredient, just plain old iodized salt. That's all we need, some salt. From there, we're gonna go with maple sugar. I had to get this online on Amazon. I couldn't find it around here. I'll try to remember to put the link in the description. Then we're gonna go with our curing salt, our pink salt. Again, I had to get this on Amazon. The important thing here to remember is this is not your Himalayan pink salt you can eat at the table. This is a curing salt. Do not eat this. This will make you sick if you eat it. One of our next steps is to go and wash this all off before we smoke it. So don't eat this salt. It will make you sick. And our last ingredient, pure maple syrup. Light, dark, doesn't matter. You go with whatever you want for the maple syrup, or whatever you prefer, whatever you can find. Just use whatever kind of syrup you can get. So we're gonna go ahead tonight and get this rubbed up, get the cure made, get it put in the pork belly. We're gonna throw that pork belly in the fridge for a week in a 2-gallon plastic baggie, and we're gonna flip it every other day. The maple syrup makes the cure more into a slurry, a liquid type slurry, and so I like to flip it every other day to make sure the entire surface of the pork belly gets some of that cure on it, just to make sure. And so next Friday, after I get home from work, we're gonna take the pork belly out of the fridge and we're gonna rinse it off in the sink in cold water to remove all of our curing salt, because we don't want to eat that. Once that's done, we're gonna put it back in the fridge on a cookie rack, uncovered, overnight. And what that's gonna do is it lets something called the pellicle form. The pellicle is a slightly tacky substance on the surface of the pork belly, and that helps the smoke particles adhere to the meat. And then on Saturday, we're gonna go ahead and smoke it at between 190 and 200 degrees, ideally, to an internal temperature of 147 degrees. If you go much hotter temperature than that, or if you take it much past that internal temp, you end up with smoked pork belly instead of bacon. So it's definitely a cold smoke. And then after it's done smoking, I'm gonna throw it back in the fridge in a plastic baggie overnight to firm it up, and then I'll slice it the next day. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how to get our cure ready. So I'll go ahead and get my stuff out and bring you on back. All right, the first ingredient we're gonna start with is our plain salt. My cure calls for 2 ounces, which is equivalent to a 1/4 cup. So we'll go ahead and get this in here. The next ingredient I need is gonna be a 1/4 cup of my pure maple sugar. So let's go ahead and get this in there as well. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and put my curing salt in here. I need 2 teaspoons of this curing salt. Doesn't take a lot to get this bacon cured. The last ingredient, of course, is my maple syrup. I also need a 1/4 cup of this. Obviously, with this syrup here, it's going to get a little bit messy. That's all right. It always does. That's totally fine. I'm just going to get in here and start mixing it up. We want to make a nice slurry here. All the ingredients thoroughly mixed. And from this point, we're just going to go ahead, slap it right down on the pork belly. I'm using a cookie sheet to keep anything of the slurry contained here so it's easier to clean later. We're just going to go ahead and start rubbing this stuff in. Get on here and rubbing it all over this pork belly. You want to coat every surface as evenly as you can. That is the goal. Really get as grains as you possibly can. Just use as much of this. We're going to use all the cure. Just get it everywhere you can as evenly as possible. That's the goal. All right, now that the cure is applied, we need to put it into our plastic baggie. I got my big old 2-gallon plastic baggie here. Go ahead and try to get this in here as cleanly as I can. I don't want too big of a mess with it. I'm not succeeding very well, but that's all right. All right, so this thing laid as flat as we can, neatly as we can here. Go. So now I'm just going to go ahead and zip this up, squeeze out as much air as I can. We're just going to take this bag. Oh, I didn't seal. Dang. I'm gonna have to put a second plastic baggie around this. It's not sealing, but you just want to take it and fold it as flat as you can. We're gonna dump it right in the fridge and call it a day. So I'm gonna flip this every other day now that it's in the cure, and I'll bring you guys back in a week for smoking. Okay, it's Friday evening. It's been a week since I put the bacon into the fridge. I flipped it every other day, and it's coming out looking pretty good. This is what we got so far, a nice big piece of pork belly. So now it's time to go ahead, rinse all that cure off, and throw it in the fridge overnight. So let's get to it. Now that I've got some cold water running, it is cold water. We're just gonna go ahead and make sure we rinse this entire thing really, really well. We wanna get all of that curing salt off. I think I forgot to mention this step earlier. The last thing we need to do is pack this dry with paper towels to remove all the excess water. And after that's done, we are good to go in the fridge. You can see this cookie rack I've got here to set it up on. That's what we're looking for, something like that. So we'll just pat this dry and get it in the fridge. We're done drying it off. We're gonna put it in the fridge just like this. When I do this, when I dry it out like this overnight, I like to keep it meat side up, fat side down. Just so you guys know how I'm putting it in the fridge. I'll bring you guys back tomorrow for the smoke. All right, we've got the smoker up to temp on Saturday morning. As you can tell behind me here, we obviously had some snow come in overnight, but that's not gonna stop us from making our bacon. So with this up to temp, we are ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and use my meat stick probes in the pork belly to monitor the internal temp to see when we're done. And so I'll go ahead and get this smoked, bring you guys back when we're done. Okay, it's Sunday morning. The bacon has sat overnight. It's done, ready to go. We're gonna go and get this sliced up. I'm gonna use my meat slicer for it, just because it's a lot easier to get consistently thick slices with the slicer. If you don't have one, a sharp knife works just as well. So let's get it sliced up and fry up a few pieces to see how it came out. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and start slicing this up. So this is what we're getting. Slices about this thick. I'll go ahead and finish slicing this up, and then we're gonna fry some of this up, just like you would store-bought bacon, and see how it comes out. So this is what we're left with after slicing. It came out to 3 pounds, 2 ounces, which isn't bad for a 5-ish pound belly. I also had a couple of larger pieces here left that were just not worth slicing. They were getting too much of a hassle. I will keep those. We'll go ahead and cut them up and fry them up and put them in salad as bacon bits or something, you know. Find another use for them, not gonna pitch them. But this is what we're left with, 3 pounds. So I'm getting a couple slices fried up now to give it a shot. All right, I've got it fried up here. We're gonna give it a try. Just when you fry it to however you like your bacon done. It doesn't matter. This is how we like ours, so. That came out really well. You can definitely taste the maple on the bacon from all the maple stuff we put in there. It's really good. Definitely something I will do again. I do want to mention I've done bacon in the past, and I found since there are no preservatives in this bacon like you would get in store-bought bacon, store it in your freezer. Keep it there until a couple days before you're ready to use it, and then pull it out. I found if I keep it in the fridge for a week or so, it tends to start to mold on me because there are no preservatives in there. So store it in your freezer until you're ready to use it. Definitely a cook I recommend doing. It's a lot of fun if you have the time. Obviously, it's a lengthy process. It takes 8 or 9 days, but overall, it's a lot of fun and probably ends up being cheaper than going and paying whatever they're charging for bacon. It's $6 a pound now, which is outrageous, but it is what it is with inflation and COVID and all that. So, you know, definitely something to give a shot to if you like bacon. Until next time, guys.